Hello again, it's Garsen, and today we're going to add damage from our spellcasting modifier to our weapons with Arcane Synergy, with all the dashing charisma of Gale. And of course, somehow staring into a mirror means you're very wise even though you lost all your memories. How does that work? I don't know. Gale, let's go ahead and do a little demonstration. Do a little performance here. And of course, everybody loves dual hasting. Okay, very good. Let's start this party. Group there, and then quicken spell. We got to cast a cantrip to activate my cool Arcane Synergy buff. So, of course, we want to use weapon attacks, so of course, we'll use that first. Oh, don't come in range, mister. Oh, yeah. Good job. Alright, she got hers started early. So now our weapons are blue, Arcane Synergy. Yeah, none of that. Damn. I know who's dying first. Okay. Get in there, buddy. Alright. So, let's just do a regular attack. Actually, you know what? For hitting Shadowheart, we're just going to cheat and obliterate you. Okay, you're dead. Yeah! Arcane Synergy. Now we have Arcane Synergy. Our weapons are glowing blue. So, bop. And another bop. Vicious. Alright. And we'll take this guy out too. How about this cantrip? Da 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 da! You're brutal. Alright, and then Shadowheart, you're looking like a little scuff there. So go ahead, do some Spirit Guardians, inflict a condition. Now you have 2 turns of Arcane Synergy. Go ahead, heal the group. Boom. Alright, don't you dare walk into Gale, or I'll beat you up. And bop. Alright. Oh, what's that? You resist our slashing damage? Well, not anymore, because we have Arcane Synergy. Did you get it? Alright, nice jump. It's pretty good. Alright. Shadowheart, you're supposed to defend him with your Sentinel abilities. Okay. Never mind. Sentinel! Extra damage! Ah, there you go. Well done, well done. Okay, so let's not use the mod anymore. Let's pretend we use the cantrip with our quick... Oh, we ran out of quicken spell. We have 2 actions. Perfect. Hi-ya! Alright, and now we have 2 more turns of Arcane Synergy to do 2 powerful attacks. Hi-ya! Hi-ya! Alright. Perfect. And then walk over into this guy. He's dead. God, that scream. Okay, there we go. And we've inflicted a condition so we can bypass those resistances. Alright, smile for the camera, you two. Boom! Oh, Shadowheart, no! Anyone but her! Oh, you two are adorable. Alright, well done, you two, well done. Alright, so, reload. So obviously we're talking about Arcane Synergy. Weapon attacks deal additional damage equal to your spellcasting ability modifier. A little bit to break down in there, and we've kind of covered this before, but you guys are awesome. You always kind of, send me comments, ask me questions, maybe clarify something a little bit more. So we have a little shout out to Mark here. So Mark was asking, hey, can you go, I've looked at some of the videos, I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys too. But I'm having a little trouble. Can you do something maybe like more normal characters, go over another subject? He wanted to talk about Arcane Synergy, even though I kind of briefly covered it in the spellcasting modifier as your weapon damage. I did a video on that. But he's like, it seems like it's kind of limited, like maybe to only Eldritch Knight or whatnot. Well, not exactly. As always, I appreciate you guys, and I'll try and break down things to what I know and what I expect, all that stuff, right? So let's actually pop out some notes and get right into it. As always, shout out to you guys. Thank you very much for watching, subbing, liking. I appreciate that, guys. So we're talking about Arcane Synergy. Mind over matter. We're going to add our spellcasting modifier to our weapon damage. Is it only good for certain classes like Eldritch Knight? Well, let's break it down. So what is it? It's a condition you apply to yourself with some activation, and we'll kind of see how to activate that. There's currently only 2 ways to do this, but it adds your spellcasting modifier, which is, there's some details to go over with this, but simply put, if you don't know your spellcasting modifier, it relates to whatever class you're in. Gale here chose Sorcerer last, which means he's using his Charisma modifier, so whatever bonuses I'm getting from Charisma, I will literally get this +6 to my weapon damage when it glows blue using Arcane Synergy. No, unfortunately, monks, your punches do not get more wisdom. There's other ways to do that. Arcane Synergy is not the way to do it, so you can't stack those effects. And sorry, druids, when you're a bear, your claws won't have your wisdom modifier added. Not using Arcane Synergy, as far as I know, there's no way to do that, but sorry, buddies. Alright, so how does it actually work? Let's break it down. There's 2 ways to actually use it, and let's get away from the gossip and hustle and bustle of the city life. Come into this shady hallway. There's 2 ways to activate it. I'll pull them up on screen so you can see them a little better. There is a helmet. You have to activate the helmet, obviously using a helmet slot, which is a very competitive slot to use on a character. It's activated, inflicting a condition like Shadowheart did with her Radiant Orbs, right? There is also a ring, which you must activate using a damage cantrip like Eldritch Blast or Firebolt. There's a few others. You gotta hit and do damage with them, and then you'll get it for 2 turns. Both of these activate for 2 turns, so that's a pretty good thing. However, it does not go past 2 turns. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Let's run on over here, and let's actually see it in action. So again, I'll use, since Gale is built around the ring using a damaging cantrip, I have a pretty smart way of using it. I'll use my Quicken bonus action spell casting ability. I'll cast this. Alright. Sure did. Okay. What is happening now is I will get 2 turns as per the ring's activation conditions. I did damage with the cantrip, but I now have 1 Arcane Synergy. So if I add 2 more by casting another cantrip and activating it again, I'll have 3, right? And... oh, beautiful. Sorry, buddy. Nope, I was wrong. So, he died for science. Arcane Synergy only goes up to 2 stacks, okay? It caps out at 2 stacks, but the good thing is, you can keep, once you have the engine running, you can keep it running as long as you're built correctly for these 2 activation conditions, right? And as for the spellcasting modifier, this is another good example. So, on Shadowheart, hers is wisdom, so she'll get the +5 bonus when she uses her condition, right? She'll inflict a condition. This will add it to her weapon attacks. It'll glow blue. She'll get 5. It's pretty easy when you're a single class because you just find out what the modifier is. Cleric uses wisdom as their modifier. Pretty easy, right? However, if you're multi-classing, it depends on the order of the last new class you added in. So if I would have taken fighter after I took sorcerer in the multi-class, doesn't matter how much I level them up, right? It's the last time I added a class, right? So if fighter came after sorcerer, I would be using intelligence, which is a no-no, okay? Instead, I went fighter on my first class. The second class I added to the multi-class was sorcerer. Doesn't matter if it was 1-7 and 6-5 and all that stuff. It's just the first one, and then the next one I add in. So it would be charisma, correctly adding the 6 that I'm trying to gun for, because everything on this guy is dealing extra damage with my charisma on my cantrips and my weapon attacks, okay? So just an important notification there, or clarification there, all right? And it's going to add the damage, not like replace it. So a warlock pact weapon would outright change my dexterity weapon here, right? I'm getting +4 from dexterity on the attack damage, but I'm also getting +4 dexterity on the range, or on the accuracy of the weapon. So pact weapon would actually just make it on a warlock straight up charisma, okay? So it would be accuracy and attack is +6, but you know what? I can also add in another +6 if I activate my ring here. So just a general rule of thumb, just remember it's adding it, and it's only adding it to damage, by the way, for only weapons, not unarmed, not bear claws and all that stuff. Does not add in extra accuracy either. So that's still going to matter when you're trying to consider what to add this on. What is another good consideration is it will make that damage property magical. So if we zoom on over to the robot here, I was able to bypass on Shadowheart at least. Gale is unfortunately using piercing, which this guy has resistance to both non-magical and magical, the gray and the blue, right? But Shadowheart is using slashing damage, and he does not have the magical resistance. So by adding Arcane Synergy to her build, I'm able to bypass that and get my full damage on her, okay? So there's the properties and what Arcane Synergy is literally doing. Let's get actually why it's good fit, or is it any good to add in? Is it too hard, too complicated? No. Remember, it's going to add flat damage. So if you're looking to boost your damage, right, just consider this. You can either do it with a helmet slot or a ring slot. Both are very competitive slots. Just keep that in mind when we're doing this, okay? But it's kind of easy to add in, and if you're looking to just get flat damage or reutilize a stat you're already using to add in more melee damage, that could be something to consider, so it's very good. Considering, don't worry about that, never happened. Technical difficulties. Considering we're adding 6 more damage to our weapon attacks, that's a hefty addition. It's kind of worth it, right? So fairly easy to add in. I would say it's fairly easy to add in if you're already using something like a spellcasting hybrid and you're going for cantrips. The ring's the right pick for you. However, if you're using a condition, this might be the right pick for you. But what if I'm not doing anything like that? Well, we'll get to it in a second, but you can actually take ability drain right here by putting worms in your head, so that's pretty cool. I'll let that reload while we talk a little bit. So usually you can focus on 2 stats, and what I mean by that is, for all of these cases, when you're building a character, you're usually going for 1 focus, like dexterity, charisma, strength, whatever it is. But a character creator usually lets you kind of like, it's actually usually best practice to like focus on 2 stats. You probably want to put it all in strength and get 21 strength right from the start of the game, but it obviously limits you to 16, 17 like that. And you have enough stat points to kind of dump into or pump it into another stat, right? So let's say I was a strength character focused. I might as well get charisma in order to be the face of the party and talk my way out of fights. Hey, now I can add that second stat onto my weapon damage, okay? So Gale here literally serves that purpose, right? He is a bit of a dexterity character, right? And I can also focus on charisma, so I'm allowed to focus on 2 stats and get the benefit of both of them in my combat weapon attacks, okay? Different examples are there, but just trying to point it out. So stacking benefits as well. Gale's another good example of this. He's using charisma already for his spell attacks. He's a sorcerer and whatnot. But let's look at Shadowheart, right? Let's say Shadowheart, she's more focused on the spell utility of cleric. She's got all these spells, oh my goodness. And we need wisdom in order to get that high spellcasting modifier or spell save DC, right? So with that, we're already getting the benefit of focusing on wisdom. But I set her up as a sentinel, right? So she's a war cleric. She's also using her weapon attacks. And if anybody comes into this range, I'll hit them, cause a condition, and bam, they've also now just added 5 wisdom to my weapon attacks and made it magical, right? So I'm getting more benefit for going in on focusing on a stat like wisdom, even if it wasn't originally intended for weapon damage. All right, spellcasting hybrids, we've seen that a little bit. That's a good reason to use it. Maximize the benefits of mixing the 2 together, or in this case Shadowheart is a war cleric, like I said, is already casting spells as a cleric, but also has that extra bonus action attack, and I set her up cleverly as a sentinel, so I've got a lot of synergy going there. It's a little I guess you could say a spellcaster hybrid by not by design, but by like happenstance, right? Okay, obviously it's cool, or it fits your character. Gale here is like a spellcaster, a literal spellblade, and I cheated a little bit, and maybe not vanilla, but this is an amazing cantrip or amazing mod because it is a cantrip that mixes my melee attacks with cantrips, so I can really max out the benefits. But I was going for a spellblade. I've literally used this build without the mod, and like I showed you, the synergy of using casting, and then it's going to empower my regular weapon attacks. So just something to think about. Plus, it's a cool character. I love spellblades. And it makes your weapons glow blue. Whoa, so cool. Or it might overcome resistances. So those are the reasons we might want to use Arcane Synergy. But how do we use them, and what's the 2 ways we can actually use them? Well, these don't stack, but you can use, like I said, a helmet piece and a ring slot. Okay, so let's actually talk about the diadem here. I'm going to bring this up just as a little visual reminder. Okay. So the diadem, if we go to Shadowheart, all right, the diadem is going to be using a condition. You have to inflict a condition, as it says there, okay? And Shadowheart is inflicting radiant orbs with her radiant damage. So anytime she does radiant damage, right? She will literally get the condition, okay? So we'll go over that in just a second, but it's a headpiece, which is a very competitive slot. You could be using something else there, like getting 2 extra charisma on your character with the hat and stuff. So just consider what you're losing and also gaining. Is +5 damage really worth it? The Kresh Inquisitor room is where you get it, so around Act 1, right after the Goblin are dealt with, you save the grove. You will have to kill a Gish character, a Githyanki in the Kresh. She's in the Inquisitor room, trying to figure out a guide to reliably kill her with nobody noticing. We'll see if I can figure that out now. I've done it before, just not reliable, and I want to make it like honor mode proof. Okay. You must inflict a condition. There was a time where this basically could have been anything. No longer. Like, you could have been sneezing on them and attacking them and it would have worked. Now you must inflict reverb or poison or something. So this may not be all that easy if you're not already considering that, but there is a way around that. I'll show you. I was obsessed with this, especially at a time when you could just do anything and it would just inflict the condition. So let's actually go in game and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, because this weapon inflicts radiant damage and my gear will inflict radiant orbs, I will bop 'em. There we go. And now, as you can see, my weapon is glowing blue. Okay. Oh, wait. Oh, it's not. I lied. Hit him again. Perfect. Okay. Why is this bugging out? Oh, man. I love doing this stuff live. Okay. Come over here. Yeah, hit him. Perfect. Now it's glowing blue. I don't get it. No one said this game is perfect. 7 patches in. I still love it. Okay, so actually, I kind of like that better because that showed the little Sentinel build I was showing here. So now I literally do have it. When I hit them, I was able to inflict a condition, right? And now I have Arcane Synergy, and so if I bop them again, or in fact, if I... Yeah, we'll just bop them again, it's fine. There we go. Perfect. Now we have 2 turns of Arcane Synergy, right? So for the helmet, you have to inflict a condition like light orbs or reverb or something. But there is an easier way, if you'll allow me. Let me reload this and see if I can demonstrate it again. Basically, while this is loading in, if you put worms in your head, I think you only need 2, but I usually get 3. Because there's a little path I prefer to get this. But if you get the ability drain, Illithid ability, you have to obviously can't be a hireling, you have to be a like origin character. It'll cost 2 or 3 worms to get this ability, and when you hit with an attack, it'll automatically just passively add a negative condition called ability drain. You don't have to really know what it does. It's kind of good, but the most important part is it's activating your helmet the easiest way possible. So even if you weren't adding these conditions or it wasn't part of your build, this would be, I guess, the easiest way. The helmet is the easiest way to add that condition. So let's do a live example and see if I can get this working for you. What we'll do is take Shadowheart over here. Let's ungroup real quick. I have the Diadem. Let's go with some generic armor like Armor of Agility, and we'll take off the gloves, we'll take off the boots, we'll take off the Radiant Orb stuff. Okay, so the only condition I really should... the boots don't really do anything. The only condition I should be inflicting is I took Favorable Beginnings. That's pretty good. I think you just need to take Psionic Overlord in order to reach Ability Drain. Ability Drain is whenever you hit a target, they'll get a little debuff condition, which is the activation cost, right? So now, let's help you guys out. I'll take this off the screen. Okay, so what happens is I'll hit him. Any kind of attack will cause Ability Drain to happen. You can see it right up there. So I should have activated it unless it bugged out on me again. Yeah, okay, no problem. Should be able to attack again with my bonus action War Cleric. There we go. Okay, it's being goofy again. That's fine. Come on over. Whee! And attack. Full arm master. Alright. Arcane Synergy, like I said. Something funky about when you start combat, just keep note of that. And not to mention the game is, you know, has its faults. It's fun. But, oh, everybody's joining in. Oh, jeez. Oh, gosh. Jeez. I don't like her. Alright. But yeah, so as you can see, if you just wanted to add it to a character, and they didn't have all that fancy reverb stuff or whatnot, you can literally just add it in. Let's just say you happen to have more wisdom, or you could only stuff so much strength before it's capped out. This is a way to get a little more damage, and of course the extra, ooh, big hit, right? The extra magical, you know, overcome resistances and whatnot. So reload. All right, we're gonna move on to the ring. So obviously, once you start hitting, your ability drain can keep going, or if you've been inflicting conditions like reverb, you'll keep getting it and keep getting it. Not hard to maintain, right? So what about the ring slot? So let's pop this thing up. The ring slot, obviously another very valuable slot to take up, very competitive, but you do get 2 of them. You're gonna find this in the creche. Again, is a little easier because you will have to kill another or knock out another Gish Githyanki. She's right at the entrance of the creche. Basically, she's so close to the entrance. There's like 5 of them. She's the only one standing there. You can lure her away with like minor illusion and just bop her in the shadows. But again, I'll try and find a strategy. So this is a little more straightforward. Less tricks to use here, so a little harder to add to a build, but we'll use Gale to demonstrate this. As before, I'm going to use a firebolt, and because the start of the battle might glitch out on me, there we go. Okay, I missed, so that was no good anyway. Alright. Ah, everybody freak out! Ah, he's got a gun! Hey-ya! Okay, so once battle has commenced, it's a lot less glitchy, and now we have Arcane Synergy, so I have to do a damaging cantrip like Firebolt here, and now my weapon is glowing blue, perfect, and if I stab him with just a regular attack, it'll really hurt. Oh yeah. Whoa-bye. Okay, cool. Very good. So, very straightforward, but you do have to hit, and it does have to be a damaging cantrip. Alright, so let's go over some of the notes, and I'll actually cover some builds with this, and how you can use it too. Again, they do not stack. I guess you could say they could stack. Let's look at Shadowheart here for just a moment. Let me take the ring image off real quick. Whoop. Okay. So Shadowheart does have the capability of using both of these. You can do the Diadem and the ring, and you can use a damaging cantrip that uses Radiant and causes all those Radiant orbs, right? But, as I showed earlier, they don't go past 2, and they both give you 2 every time you activate them, so I guess the only reason you would stack these 2 capabilities is because you want or, like, just in case you want any other, but I don't really advise it. Doesn't really seem practical if you try to do it that way. So effectively you can only have 2 characters, which is why I made 2 examples here. One focus on the cantrips, one focus on the conditions, or just using the ability drain trick. You can just slap it on if you don't want to try and build exclusively, but like I said, the helmet here would be probably the easier, quicker choice, even if you weren't focused on spellcasting and hybrids and all that stuff. But I would recommend trying synergize it with something else. So like I said, if you were already building something very focused on cantrips, this guy is decked out in cantrips even without the mod. I really benefit from throwing 1 firebolt. It's, instead of using my bow, this, you could think of this as my ranged attack. I can cast it with my bonus action, and it's buffed by my amulet, my sorcerer class, and my potent robes. Then it's going to activate the ring, which will make my regular attacks have 6 more, potentially 7 if you do 24 charisma. And then this harmonic dueler also gets the performance check I used at the beginning of the video to get another 6 on all my attacks. So everything's focused around that, built centered around it, using more charisma, right? We'll get into another example, but status abuser, right? If you're already going to build like a poison character or a reverb set or a light orb set, you might as well, if you can fit it, if there's really nothing better, or you focused on weapon damage anyway, right? A really good set is like using the brood mothers to get poison damage, using the gloves that if you do poison damage, there's a chance to poison them, and then there is a cape that gives you heals every time you poison, which activates the amulet. It's a little trifecta, okay? So you'll constantly be dishing out poison damage. You can get 2 poison blades and then start rotating poisons, dealing all that. It's really flavorful kind of character. But yeah, you could do something like a status abuser, and all the while you're adding more damage to your character, right? Face character. So say you just built Gale here, and he's just a regular old fighter, and so you decided to oh, you know what? Let's say he was a bard. So he's a bard. You're going to be using your dexterity on your build to fight with your swords bard, but you have mad charisma for all those cool face checks, deception or persuasions during dialogue. You can now get more bang for your buck, right? So just think of those kind of facts. Otherwise, just kind of add it in, right? So some examples of my own. We've already looked at the Spellblade. We've already looked at the War Cleric. Again, the Cleric. Shadowheart is set up as not only allowing the radiant damage to inflict the condition, but if they get in close, like they're trying to run to Gale here, they gotta go past me, Shadowheart. And I've used both of these builds in honor mode runs, right? And I've built this where I can now do all these cool, crazy control spells or damaging stuff, but if they get in close, I can use my radiant damage, right, to stop them in their tracks with Sentinel and the long reach of a polearm. And then this one does radiant damage, so it'll inflict a condition. And now I get extra damage from my wisdom, so I'm getting more bang for my buck, right? Let's load up 2 different examples, and I'll show you some other builds I've used personally. I was obsessed with Arcane Synergy. I guess you could say I still am. The first one, when we reload in this, is a pure level 12 melee or martial warlock. It's not pure melee, but I've made him just warlock, right? I was able to use Arcane Synergy to really maximize his charisma damage, and so you could use this on even a warlock who's focused on the packed weapon, right? Where you're utilizing your charisma stat like mad crazy, right? So with packed weapon, your weapon is now based off charisma, both for accuracy and damage, +6. And if I activate the Arcane Synergy ring, it will add another 6, and because you have level 12 Warlock, you can get Blood Drinker. So actually, my damage gets a little charisma necrotic damage, a little bit, all of it's coming from charisma. I have all-in Great Weapon Master to add 10 more damage, and once that ring goes, I'm going to have 6 more damage, so plus 24 damage, and so on and so forth, right? I don't really use my bow, so I have a little bow of awareness for extra initiative over here, right? But the logic here is, well, as a melee warlock, level 12, I can get considerable armor class with no armors. I can use the potent robes to really buff out my Eldritch Blast. So I always have a very strong Eldritch Blast to use. And then when I use my Eldritch Blast, right, I zap them. That's going to give me more power on my my weapon attacks as a warlock. My packed weapon just lets me also use all my charisma on there, and then it'll be more powerful, right? So if I zap them, okay. And let's say somebody in the party gave me haste, right? So Shadowheart would be hasted by Gale, Sorcerer, or something like that, or I just pop a haste potion. Now my blue weapon is really looking pretty fresh at 24 extra attack. Okay, so if I run over to this guy and bop him, he's going to be taking a lot of damage. Okay, well, he's almost dead, so. Woohoo! Alright, and then I would go zapping again. Okay. Alright, and he's going to be angry, coming running over here. Come here. I still have the high armor class, so I'm hard to hit. Nice. Alright, this other guy's going to jump in. No, Gale, watch out! We'll get to Gale's attack in a second. Okay. So, Shadowheart here still has Arcane Synergy from the Eldritch Blast I just used, right? I can bop him real big. Look at that. That's tons of damage. And if I use Mystic Scoundrel, I can use this as a bonus action and hold him down. Alright. And now I can go in for another massive attack, and because I'm using hold monster, it's going to be automatically a crit. Oh, big damage, right? So really cool build. I love playing a pure melee warlock or martial warlock. But what if you just want the dummy approach? Titan Stringbow is a super good example because I'm just trying to build for flat damage. And what I've done here is I've made a champion fighter. Level 11, you get 3 attacks extra, right? And then you have the action surge, you have tons of attacks, right? And with the Titan String Bow, I add my H strength to the bow. So I would use a Hill Giant Elixir. Champion I chose because I wanted to show you no nonsense. What if we were just building a normal character here and we added this in fresh for extra damage? So with Ability Drain, I should be able to hit him. Now he has Ability Drain. Oh, now I got Arcane Synergy. Now my bow attack is 23, and it's not even showing the extra damage from Titan String Bow and Rhapsody and all that stuff, right? So I've now added the extra 5 damage to my normal 5 damage from Dexterity, and the 8 damage because the bow is built for Titan String Bow, plus the all-in Sharpshooter plus 10 damage. So he does massive damage. Let's see what the number pops up. Boom. Alright, like a 37. Woo. And if you use Slayer arrows, right, it would be even more damaging because Slayer arrows do a lot. Or you would do Arrow of Many Targets, hit everybody in a group, and that would hit all of them for the same effects. Arcane Synergy is affecting every single attack. And if I built this guy to where he wanted to use up-close weapon attacks, right, his melee attacks would also be benefiting from that as well. So just ways to think about it. Try to give you some examples too. I've used all of these on Honor mode. They're super powerful, and just shows you the versatility of Arcane Synergy. It doesn't always have to be just for that specific spellcasting character, alright? So hopefully that's going to do it for today. Obviously, well, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate you guys. If you got a question or want me to cover a subject, just leave a comment, right? Until then, I'll catch you in the next one. You guys have a great day.